for every aircraft, you need people to operate that aircraft and do the back end job. So every aircraft, you need approximately 10 to 12 pilots, depending upon where you're flying and what your level of operation is and what kind of aircraft it is. Then you would require cabin crew, approximately 20 to 40 cabin crew, depending again upon whether you're serving food or not. It's a low cost carrier or it's a legacy carrier, and so on and so forth. You need engineers to maintain it, you need technicians to support it, you need ground staff, you need airport check. So by and large, you end up employing approximately 150 people directly per aircraft. With 700 aircraft in the country, this comes up to approximately 105,000 staff directly being employed by all airlines in India put together. Now,
New technology is revolutionizing air travel across the world. It is making flights more efficient and eco friendly. It is helping to improve security and make flight planning and operation more effective. And of course, it is constantly changing passengers' lives for the better, from faster check ins and a better airport experience to the innovation that makes flying more comfortable and rewarding. Hello and welcome to the Honest Talk by Freak Folks. I'm Harsh Pandey. For this particular session, we have with us very special guest, Mr. Arun Kumar Singh. He is the founding chief executive officer of India's newest upcoming regional airline, India One Air. The airline aims to improve regional connectivity to from tier 2 and 3 cities in poised to launch shortly. Prior to undertaking the assignment, Mr. Singh was the CEO of Air Deccan. He started his career with Jet Airways and subsequently worked with the Kingfisher Airline. He has worked and lived in 4 different countries and has over 23 years of work experience. So, first of all, sir, I welcome you to in this session. Thank you so much for joining and agreeing to share your thoughts with us.
thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, sir. It's our pleasure. So, moving to the topic of today's session, which we have chosen, is emerging technology trends in aviation industry. The technology revolution has already accelerated to another level. Technologies like robotics, AI, machine learning, Internet of Things, blockchain, drones, and augmented reality are being harnessed to create a safer, efficient, and more productive environment. So, my very first question to you is: in your opinion, how technology is reshaping the aviation industry?
So, good question, Harsh. Now, when we talk about technology aiding the aviation industry, you must understand that there is a lot of technological improvement which is happening on different fronts in aviation industry. When we say aviation, it's a very loosely defined and very broad term. So let's be clear here. We are one talking about a manufacturing an aircraft technology going in over there. So there is use of new materials like composites, carbon composites, like titanium alloy, different kind of alloys. They are lighter in weight, they are more heat resistant, and the metal fatigue doesn't come in quickly. So that's as far as fabricating the new aircraft or manufacturing the new aircraft is concerned. A recent example being a Boeing 787. It's completely made from scratch, different materials. Second is the that's making the fuselage of the aircraft. What I'm talking about. Second is making the aircraft more aerodynamic. So where the drag is less, where the fuel burn is less, it leaves lesser carbon footprint on the environment. It requires lower maintenance because the wear and tear on the aircraft itself is fuselage is itself is less or the airframe is less. The third is the navigation aid, which is the navigation communication aids that are available on board the aircraft, the computers and all that stuff, what we call as computers. So there is something like, let's say, a navigation aid, which is a technology that is constantly evolving. I don't know whether you'll remember, but there used to be, apart from a pilot and a co-pilot, earlier in the cockpit, there an engineer on board. They actually used to have a third seat, and there was a person who would sit and do the job. Now, that job has been replaced by replacing technology, by improving technology. The aircraft are more reliable, they are much safer, they are more economical and easier to maintain. That's the physical part. That's one aspect I'm talking about is manufacturing the aircraft to operating the aircraft.
Yes.
Now, then comes to the ecosystem around the aircraft, operating the aircraft, because there is a lot of things that need to go into operating the aircraft, which is your, let's say, selling and distribution, your entire logistics for maintaining the aircraft on ground. There is a huge logistics from engineering side, the forecast, the engineering planning, uh, maintaining your spares and inventory. So for that, of late in the last 3 decades, I would say, especially from the early 2000s, there is a use of a lot of technology that has gone in. So there are specialized software who will track all the spare parts. They will check for their life. They will make sure that the inventory spoilage is kept to the minimum. The spares are not wasted. Additional consumable spares and expandables are not ordered, and if they are ordered, they can easily be tracked. The authenticity of the spare parts is also there. The maintenance, the aircraft is put down for maintenance at the right time under the ambit of law. So it's aiding us aviation industry not only to reduce cost but also to increase efficiency and make the aircraft and the airline in general and aviation in general a much safer place.
Indeed, sir. I think you have given a very detailed, great insight into this aviation sector. Sir, my next question to you is: as we have moved into this 21st year of this 21st century and passing through this very unprecedented times, the way we do business has changed. We now operate in a new environment that can be very aptly described as volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. The pace of change is fast and getting faster. Organizations are flatter, customer demands are ever increasing, competition is global, and continuous disruption are now considered as new normal. So, my question to you is what do you believe? What is needed to survive and thrive in such a VUCA world, especially if we focus to the aviation sector?
I'm sorry if I just want to make sure I understood your question correctly. Are we referring to the ongoing pandemic of COVID and because of that
Us,
there's no economic slowdown?
sir, actually, I want to know what kind of leadership needed in this type of situation, and what are the kind of leadership needed to drive the future of aviation sector.
Okay, so I'll take your questions in two parts. One is the how do we handle the existing crisis in a best possible manner. Now we must understand, Harsh, that this is once in the lifetime or once in a century kind of event.
Yes,
It cannot be and it should not be taken as a standard business practice or a standard operating environment. It is unfortunate. It is the time is very painful, and unfortunately, whether aviation or any other industry, we have to somehow bear this pain.
correct,
That's the reality. Now, how well, how positively we accept and these ongoing pandemic and the economic crisis is up to us individually. There are airlines who have phen- done phenomenally well in terms of taking care of their employees and the vendors. There is an airline which is a typical case study in our country, which is the biggest airline. They have handled this situation very well. I'm not saying that other airlines have not. Everybody's under pressure, not only airline, infrastructure companies, hotels, tourism sector, a lot of manufacturing industry, hospitality. Everybody's under pressure. So unfortunately, I don't have a very shortcut answer to this. This is a very unprecedented situation. Everybody who's alive today,
yes,
nobody has seen this kind of situation. The
correct.
last time it was seen was 1980 during the Spanish flu. So we'll have to live through this pain, but we have to prepare for the next phase, which is the pandemic getting over. As far as the future of the aviation industry is concerned, like any other industry, there'll be ups and downs, and we also face our ups and downs. When the economy is on the rise, aviation obviously being one of the key infrastructure drivers or economic drivers, we we expand exponentially. When it slows down, we also take the heat. Right now, as we speak, we have give or take 700 aircraft flying in India, or rather registered, not flying. A lot of them are grounded because of COVID. So, give or take 700, give or take 50 aircraft, less than around 650 to 700 aircraft are flying in this country today. If you look back 20 years, which is in 2001, there were only 119, 120 aircraft operating in this country by all scheduled airlines, which was then Indian Airlines, Air India, Jet Airways, and Air Sahara, and there were one, two small regional airlines. They did not have any aircraft. Now, in 20 years' time, the civil aviation market in this country, the number of aircraft has grown by five-fold almost, five and a half folds. Not only has the number of aircraft increased, the average capacity per aircraft has also increased. Now, for example, in back in 2001, for example, an airline I'm just picking up randomly, Jet Airways had a fleet of 737, 400, 507, and 800 aircraft. Now, average capacity of a 737 400 those days was 136 seats. 700 was 122 seats, and 800 was 156 seats. Now, not only the number of aircraft has increased. Now, today, look at Indigo. Their aircraft, a 320 CEO, would have an average capacity of 180 seats. And Neo has close to 190, 195 seats. They have 321, which is 210 seats approximately. So not only has the number of aircraft increased, the average capacity per aircraft has also increased. Now the third aspect is on 136 seats, on an average, 70% of the seats will be occupied, which is what we call seat factor here. Now that seat factor, so which means if you have let's say 100,000 seats deployed on any day, 70,000 only will be filled with passengers. The balance 30,000 will go empty. Today, the industry, and that's just an example, I use 100,000 number per day. Today, the occupancy, average occupancy of an aircraft has gone up to 80%. I'm talking pre-COVID period. COVID is not the right measure. It has touched mid 80s. So the growth in on three front, the number of aircraft has gone up, the number of capacity seats per aircraft has gone up, and occupancy has also gone up. And the fourth angle is the average utilization of aircraft has gone up. So if an aircraft used to fly, let's say 9 hours a day, now they are pushing it to 14 hours a day. So the growth is exponential and it is multidimensional. It is not just a unilateral growth or a linear growth, it's an exponential growth. The future, now this we are talking about history as to what happened 2001 versus now. Now, what is going to happen in the next 20 years is what is important and which is what everybody is interested, curious about. By 2040, conservative estimate says that India will have around 2,500 aircraft. Mind you, we have less than 700 right now. And an optimistic approach, I've read a couple of forecasts. It says we'll have around 3,500. So, which is like five times the market is going to grow. Now, I have been reading such reports from the same sources in the last 15 to 20 years, and they're pretty spot on. When I was reading these reports 15 years ago for the market forecast for 2020, I did not believe that India will have 700 aircraft. Well, we have. Now, it might look like a big number, but by 2040, it's a reality that the country will have somewhere around 2,500 to 3,000 aircraft flying. It's the highest growth market in the whole world. And India has a higher growth rate in aviation, even higher than China in terms of percentage. So that's what the future holds for us.
Indeed, sir. Again, you have told many important things, and your answer was meaningful. Sir, and I'm sure the viewers who are watching this session, they are surely going to find us insightful as well. So my next question to you is rather we need to understand that technology is getting advanced by minute, not by the hour or the day. Data is the data is the new most important element of the present era. So, do you think with the multiple sources pouring data in abundance, big data analytics will potential technology improving the operation of aviation industry by deriving a correlation between data collected and applying relevant and new algorithm automatically on the establishment of any correlation between the pieces of information?
Okay, so data analytics is a very, very important part when it comes to commercial aviation. And with increasing time, the cost of operations going up, stiff competition coming in, more and more airline coming in, passenger becoming more aware, the tools for shopping for a passenger has improved significantly. It is the need of the hour, not for today, but like a couple of decades ago, especially when the internet became popular, to depend more and more on data.
Correct.
Now, for example, 20 years earlier, when I started working, if I had to buy an air ticket, what do I do? So I only had two ways to do it. A, I'll go to the airline office and ask them, Bhai, Delhi jana hai, what is the fare? I have to go to Delhi, what's the fare? They'll give me a fare. Then I go to another airline's office and say, I have to go to Delhi, what's the fare? Same question, I have to walk to like five different airlines. I don't know how many of us will remember, but there used to be specific area in the city where all the airlines offices used to be concentrated. They're
Yes.
right next to each other. Or you do one thing, you go to a travel agent who will do the same job for you, right? The travel agent will shop for you. Now, that was in 90s, it was a very prevalent method. That was the only accepted way. I don't need a travel agent today.
Correct.
Okay, I just have a smartphone. I flip my smartphone and I can just go on to an online travel agent. You call it OTA, like Make My Trip, Agoda, Travelocity, anywhere. Press of a button and I see what the fares are. Now, this is from the customer point of view. Now, what happens from the airline point of view is I'm just not, you may be thinking for one flight. Now, look at somebody like Indigo. Now, Indigo has, and I'll just, whilst I'm talking to you, I'll probably pull out an Excel sheet and I'll just give you live numbers. So they have approximately, let's say, 1,400 departures a day, right? Pre-COVID. Again, when I refer to numbers, it's predominantly pre-COVID. The COVID time is an outlier data. That's not the normal way of business. Now, every flight, when you're talking about a flight, so let's say you have a flight going at 8 o'clock from Bombay to Delhi every single day. I don't know if you've ever thought about it, Harsh, but how many days in advance can you book it? It's predominant. It's typically around 330 days. So that particular flight you can book either today, tomorrow, day after, and for the next 330 days. So which means 1,400 flights you can book for the next 330 days. So that's not 1,400 flights a day. That's total departures are 462,000. So at any given point in time, Indigo is selling 500,000 flights. They're selling. Now, every single flight, if you look at your ticket number, there'll be a class, Y class, M class, A class, B class. There are different, we call them revenue booking designators. Every class has got a reason, there is a different revenue that goes in there. Now, so let's say an airline uses 12 particular classes, right? On every single flight. There are 5.5 million different price points being sold at any given point in time in Indigo. Now, please tell me if anybody can humanly watch them. Now, if there are 5.5 million price points for Indigo that are live for sale every point in time, which means there is a competition to them as well. So, if there is another airline, they also have their matching competing fares to them. 30 years ago, it was manually, it was possible for people to do that. Now you need tools, specialized tools, computerized tools to compare them. And that is what your revenue management system does. That is where your forecasting system comes. So let's say if you today is 1st of July 2021, Indigo must be selling already for a flight on 15th or 31st of May 2022. The seats sold would have there been zero if you check. But at this point in time, Indigo can do a forecast with 90% accuracy on the day of departure, how many this flight will depart with how many passengers. And based upon their forecast now, the fares for next year, 31st of May 2022, will be decided. So the use of technology, as you are calling artificial intelligence, that you're talking about data analytics, this all comes into play over here.
Indeed.
It's a very complex algorithm which works. There is a specialized tool. There are people who are highly qualified who run the revenue management and pricing and distribution department. Now, this is only one aspect. Now, let's say Harsh Pandey is sitting in Delhi and he wants to buy a ticket. But if the same Harsh Pandey is sitting in, let's say, San Francisco and he wants to buy the ticket for Bombay Delhi flight, same flight. Okay. I know that you're willing to pay in US dollars and your disposable income is higher. I can charge you a bit of a premium. I'm not saying Indigo does that or Indigo does not do it. I'm saying this is one of the distribution strategies. So it's not only at what price to sell, it is also where to sell
Correct.
and how many seats at that price to sell, who to sell. All right. When to stop selling is also important. Now, for 31st of May 2021, 2022, you may come to me and say that, hey, I'm willing to give 5,000 rupees for this ticket. Now, I have to take a decision whether what is my probability of getting more than 5,000 rupees for this ticket 15 days prior to the flight departure. Let's say Harsh is giving me 5,000 rupees, and what if his offer is the best offer? And the guy who's on 15th of May next year doesn't give me that money. That's a call that I have to take 11 months in advance now. And this is what all airlines do at this point in time. It's not a flash sale as it appears. It's not as easy as it appears. So typically that you see 700 rupee fare, 500 rupee, 99 rupee fare. This is the distress inventory that you're offloading. So we take a decision, revenue managers take a decision saying that look, this inventory is going to go waste anyways. Nobody's going to travel. Let me try and sell this inventory for whatever money I have. So please understand the people who travel, most of them are business travelers. And most of these people are booking last minute, even personal travel. I mean, I don't think you will be booking for your tickets for 11 months in advance now. Not a lot of us do that. So anything that I get extra now, just because it's for cheap, you're not going to change your decision or you're not going to fix up a meeting next year, right? I cannot do that. I have to travel next week. I haven't made my booking still now. So what you offload, what you sell is the distress inventory. All that answering your question. Sorry, it went a bit long, but
No, it's
all of this can only be achieved by data analytics, by relying on the system, by artificial intelligence, by analyzing what the other guy is also doing. I don't want to outprice myself where Indigo is, let's say I'm Go Air and Indigo is competitor on that flight. They are selling for 6,000. I do my own calculation, say that no, I will sell for 10,000. So I'm going to outprice myself. I don't want to underprice myself as well. Indigo is selling for six, I'm selling for three. That is also counterproductive. I might fill up the seats, but I will not get the revenue. So to do all of that, there is a lot of analytical work that goes in there.
Indeed, sir. I think you have very beautifully explained how actually how much important data analytics and AI and machine learning algorithm is in today's world, and what are the its importance and how we can predict the future from it. So my next question to you is, or rather, whenever we talk about the future of aviation sector, then this questions for sure will arrive there. With the world's major industries dedicating the next decade for the reduction of their environment footprints, how the aviation industry will contribute to watch out for the same? Do you think green technology can help the aviation sector to carry out its operation in a very cost-effective and environmental friendly way?
It's a very interesting question you ask. See, we are human beings. We all live in a lot. We like to romanticize about a lot of things. That's in our nature. So, it's like you walk into McDonald's and you buy a diet Pepsi so that you don't put on weight. Get a double mac cheese with extra cheeseburger, eat with it, and walk out and say, "Hi, I had a diet Pepsi." So, it's very funny. Now that was on the lighter note. Now we all want to travel fast. We all want to travel in a lot of comfort and luxury. Go quickest in the shortest possible way to the longest possible distance in the least amount of time at the cheapest fare. And then we want to save the environment also. I'm sorry, I'm saying a very unpopular thing. I know it's not what environmental guru says, Let's understand this. With the existing propulsion technology, when you take something and burn it so that some hot gases come out, the machine can move forward. I'm not talking about only aviation, it's the general stuff, how things work. In motor, the crankshaft moves the same way. Unless the technology changes, there is nothing new that can be done. We can keep on beating our chest, thumping our chest, saying that oh, we saved carbon footprint. There's so much of CO2 reduction we did. Nothing is going to happen. I keep on hearing about what do you call battery power planes. That will not happen with the energy density that a battery, lithium-ion battery packs. It is. It will not. It will. You will not be able to power a narrow body kind of aircraft or A320 kind of aircraft. It will not have sufficient power. And to even if you develop that technology to charge that battery, also you need power, which also comes from somewhere, right? By burning fossil fuel. So it's six of the one, half a dozen of the other. So unless there is a new technology that develops that the engine that does not require this kind of fuel, directly or indirectly, where we can harness energy from somewhere else, I don't see that the world is going to become a greener, cleaner, and all that stuff. Those are all publicity things. Some entrepreneurs do it for publicity. Let them do it. Let's live in real world.
All right, sir. Sir, I can say there's a lot more to learn from you, but today I don't want to take too much of your time. So moving to my last question of this session. Actually, this question is, sir, how do you see the future hold for jobs in the aviation industry?
Oh, it's very bright.
Okay.
So let's say now why I say that is so if we have 700 odd aircraft, so I'll give you like very rough numbers back of the envelope. So each aircraft will require approximately 10 pilots. Okay. It actually depends upon where the aircraft is flying, but typically a pilot can fly maximum 1,000 hours a year, and the aircraft can fly 4,000 hours a year. So you need simple math around eight pilots per aircraft, one pilot per co. But when you factor in for other things, you come up with like 10 to 11 pilots per aircraft. Then you need around 40 cabin crew, 30 to 40, depending whether you're a legacy carrier or a locals carrier, and so on and so on. Then you need certain engineers, ground staff, and all that stuff. So typically, the direct employment per aircraft that every single aircraft will generate will be in the vicinity of 100 to 150. So the 700 aircrafts in this country directly employ somewhere around some airlines have a higher ratio, by the way. So even if we take 150, let's say on an average, we are talking about 110,000, 105 to 110,000 employees. Correct. Now, for every one direct employment, you have approximately six to seven indirect employments as well. So let's say people who are not employed by the airline, but they are engaged in offering the services. Somebody driving taxis, who is picking up and dropping the pilots. Somebody who are again engineers, but they are working for MROs, the repair organization, maintenance, repairs, and overall organization. There is an entire ecosystem of DGCA, the government side, the regulator, the airport authority. In the airports, people are engaged. So all the jobs are created. So, by and large, we are talking about close to 1 million people in the country who are currently employed directly or indirectly by airlines, but because of aviation, or probably more. Now, if the market grows up by four times, all right, or five times in the next 20 years, so will the employment grow by four or five
Correct.
times. Obviously, the population of the country is not going to grow by four or five times. I hope not in the next 20 years. I seriously hope not. So, which means that there is will be a lot of demand which will be created for existing talent pool of the country
Yes.
or the future coming talent pool of the country. That's all I'm trying to say.
Indeed, sir.
Future is good.
All right. Again, it was a very insightful answer from your side. I'm sure the viewers who are watching this session, they are surely going to find this insightful and as well as inspiring for them, those who are looking to make their career into this aviation industry. Thank you so much, sir, for joining and giving your important time. It was a kind of healthy conversation with you over the topic. We look forward to conduct more such sessions with you in future. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for having me, Harsh. Have a good one.
Thank you so much.
On the ground is where I stand. Never give up, that was always the plan. It's so cold outside, I'm alone, I'm alright. It's so cold outside, I'm alone.